Well, Travis Demers said goodnight from Moda Center, and I say hello from Moda Center up here next to the Pines and Entry C31 up in level 300. Chris Burkhart here with the fifth quarter. If you want to join in on it, you know what to do. 503-248-0620 is that telephone number. Or you can get onto youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and you can join the chat there as well. Blazers fall to Oklahoma City tonight, 128-120. And I got to tell you what, it kind of played out like we thought it would play out. They played hard. They fought hard. They got down big. They didn't waver. They fought back. This is one of those games where you watch and you're like, my goodness, if only this team were healthy. If only this team were healthy, what kind of difference would it make? How good could they be if you had a healthy Shea out there, a healthy DA, a healthy Tamani, a healthy Scoot, a healthy Malcolm? I mean, that's a starting five right there that I just mentioned that is not playing in this game. But you saw what they did Monday in Minnesota against one of the best teams in the entire league, the number one team in the Western Conference, the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that was a game with everyone out that they thought, they being, the talking heads most places, that the Blazers were just going to roll over, that it was done for, no chance, right? And they played them well all the way down to the end until they just got out-talented, right? You can only go so far and try so hard when you got Rudy Gobert and Karl-Anthony Towns breathing down your neck. And then tonight, kind of the same thing. They got just out-talented at the end. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Josh Giddey, Luguentz Dort, everyone was bringing it, right? But the Blazers, they fought hard. And that, you got to love. I know there's no such thing as moral victory, so Chauncey's not taking this into the locker room and putting a check mark next to the win column in the moral victory win-loss on the season, right? But it is something you like to see because I think bad teams roll over, right? Bad teams don't fight. Teams that have young guys out there and are trying to build an identity, they'll fight. They might lose games, but they're going to fight because they're trying to build an identity. And I really, truly feel over the past few games that is the identity this team is starting to really mesh with. And it reminds you a little bit of like the early season, right? Remember early in the season when we were like, this team, they have an identity now, and that is that they're going to fight hard. They're going to win a few games. They're going to bring you every single night, and then you hit the mid-season and the lull, and everything was like, where's that early season team that we all kind of fell in love with? Well, I feel like that team's starting to come back. And yes, they just lost 2 in a row, but they lost 2 in a row to the 2 best teams in the Western Conference, right? Now they went into Memphis over the weekend and got a win, and then battled back from, 18 down to get an overtime win. And then they battle from double digits down in Minnesota to fight to the end against, again, the best team in the conference. And then tonight they were down big multiple times. They were down big right out of the gate in this one. Like Oklahoma wasted no time getting out to an early lead. You look at the first quarter and Jalen Williams hits a 2. Chet Holmgren hits a 3. I mean, next thing you know, boom, bang, boom. It's 17-6. It's 18-8. It's 21-8. 23-10. Like, they just got out big early. But the Blazers fought and tried to make it a game. And so you got to give them a little bit of credit. When a team doesn't have – I mean, think about this for a second, okay? DA has been a double-double machine as of late. Malcolm Brogdon, he's a good shooter. He's going to go score. Shaedon Sharpe, he's a scorer too. He's going to go get you 15-plus per night. Scoot's kind of found his way to being a shooter as well. You have all that scoring sitting on the bench. Not a lot of good things are going to happen. And somehow they manage to score points. So I like it. I love it. I want some more of it, as Tim McGraw would say. That is how he would say it. I love the way the team played. I absolutely love the way the team played. If you want to jump in on the conversation, you know what to do. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. You can also go to youtube.com, type in Rip City Radio, and get right in on the YouTube chat where both Josh and Chris are like, I'm not mad. The expectations were low, but then they gave me an entertaining game, right? I think that's better. I would if win-loss doesn't matter and you're going to pile up losses, I'd rather pile up losses like this, where the team fights and there's something you can build off in the long run. I don't like the losses like you saw earlier in the year to Oklahoma City, where it's, a 50-point deficit and you're like, what is this team? What are we doing? That's terrible. Games like this, you can definitely build off of. Okay, one more time. That phone number is 503-248-0620. We do have a couple of you waiting patiently, so let's head out to Tim in Milwaukee, where he says he's a little bit confused about the Blazers' plan. Tim, welcome into the fifth quarter.
Hey, Chris.
Or not.
Yeah, I was listening to the end of the
I can't hear Tim. Can anybody hear Tim? Michael Shacker on it.
Hello?
Hey, there you are. I can hear you now. How are we doing?
Doing great. Hey, I was just listening to the end of the game there, and I was listening to Chad and the other person briefly kind of describe the scenario where we are in the draft lottery standings. Chad mentioned that we had 4 picks in the chamber. I got to tell you, Chris, in 43 years of watching this franchise, I'm absolutely lost in terms of the trajectory or whatever strategy they have going into the offseason. I'm actually calling to ask you for clarity and maybe break it down to me like a 5-year-old. I don't understand. Are we trying to win games this late in the year because there's the sale of a team is pending, or what? I mean, can you kind of enlighten me, I guess, is why I'm calling in, as to kind of what we have and where we're hoping to go, or what you've heard.
Right. Okay. Well, look at this, Tim. You got 20 games left, right? And you got a 4-game gap between you and Memphis. So I don't know if that one's going to close. You got a 2.5-game gap to Charlotte in the loss column. That one might close, so you might be able to gain a position. But roughly win or lose a handful of these games, for all intents and purposes, you're kind of right there in that 4, 5, 6 draft spot. So I think what you're doing here, Tim, is I think you're going out there, you're putting your team in the best position to win games. And if you win 1 or 2, you win 1 or 2. If you lose them, you lose them. I mean, that's what happened tonight. But I don't think the general idea is like, hey, we're going to go out there, 20 games left, we're going to rattle off 20 wins and feel real good about ourselves and completely ruin what the draft prospects are. No, I think you're pretty much locked in at somewhere around that 4 to 6 range. Win or lose the rest of your games pretty much. So I just think that that's what the plan is try to develop some of these guys. That's why you're getting the run out of Ryan Rupert. That's why you're getting run out of Ashton Hagens to see what you want to do with him in the future. That's why Delano Banton's getting run. So I think that's the plan. And Chad and I have talked about this before. Like I think that, then you're at a crossroads and you decide what you're going to do with some of these bodies that you might have to move. But right now, I don't think the wins and losses matter, but you do want to make sure that you're going out there trying to win, because I think building that mentality means something. But that's me. I don't know what you guys think. Chime in. YouTube.com, Rip City Radio. Grab the phone, 503-248-0620. Count to 3 with me, okay, everyone? Nice and slow. 2, 3. That was me allowing Chad Dewing to catch his breath after rushing up to the 300 level.
Woo!
Ooh, there you go. See, that's pro right there. I got everyone to calm down. I answered Tim's question.
Thank you.
We got everything taken care of. Tim's question, Chad, you walked in. He was asking, and it was an honest question. He wasn't trying to throw shade or anything. He was asking what the plan is with this team. Are they trying to win games? He heard you and Travis talking about where they are in the draft position. I mean, am I too far off there thinking that basically win or lose, the way things go, they're probably going to end somewhere in, maybe the 4 to 7 range? Probably not 7. They'd have to win a lot of games to start jumping that. But you look at Tankathon right now, where they're sitting at a 41% chance of landing in the top 4. They got a 10.5% chance of landing in over 1 if everything ended right now, and their best odds are obviously that number 5 spot. 4 games ahead of Memphis, 2.5 back of Charlotte. Do you really see a lot changing in that?
No, I would say 4 or 5 is probably your spot, and then we'll see what happens when the lottery balls come out. But, Chauncey was asked this question a couple of games ago. Where do you find that balance between developing players and trying to win games? And he says, the best that I can. And he did acknowledge that development of players right now is priority number 1. So I think what we're going to see the rest of the way is they're not going to pull the plug like we've seen the last couple of years, but I think they're going to continue to find spots where they can get the youngsters in there for a chance to develop. And I think that's probably what I'm most excited about over the last 4 games and watching them, these young guys. Chris Murray's starting to hit a couple of shots.
Right.
He was effective tonight, 4 or 5 from the field. I like what I saw from Ryan Rupert. You know, Chauncey said after the game that he's improved in every area since early in the season, but I like his length and what he can potentially bring. And then the new guys, Delano Banton and Ashton Higgins, Jabari Walker's continue to develop. These young guys who are getting a chance to play can be valuable as they move into next season. And so it's a tough balance for Chauncey, but I think development, I believe what they say. That's the key. I would agree with that, too, and we'll see how that works. And they'll continue to mix in some of the vets with Grant, Ant, Thibault, and the rest of them. But I think most importantly, development of the youngsters, but also even when Ayton returns, get him on the floor so he can continue to get into that flow we saw before he exited with the hand injury.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's proof that I think development is definitely taking precedence here is the fact that I thought tonight I liked Chris Murray and Rupert for most of the night, but you saw them both make a few mistakes,
yes.
right? And then you saw Chauncey kind of get into them, as a coach should, teaching him what to do.
Yep.
But if that was happening early in the season, that's a short leash, pulling them out,
yes.
figuring out. But he left them in and let them learn from those mistakes on the fly, which to your point is why I think development is taking precedence.
Yeah, and I think Chauncey's mentioned this too, that he doesn't want to be one of those coaches where you get on the floor as a young player, you make a mistake and he yanks you right back out. Like, he wants you to have a little bit of rope to work with out there so you can
right.
play with confidence. Because, you know, as a young player, you're already nervous anyways. Knowing that your coach is going to support you and allow you to play through a couple of mistakes, I think is critical.
Absolutely. If you want to join in on the conversation, 503-248-0620 is that telephone number. And, of course, youtube.com. Type in Rip City Radio. You can join the chat there as well. We'll take a quick break. When we return, we'll hit you with our shot of the night. And then Chad and I will continue to break down this game. If you're on hold, stay there because I'll get to those calls as well. Chris Burkhardt here, up next to the Pines across from entry C21, level 300 of the Moda Center. We're talking Blazers here. It's the 5th quarter on their home of the Blazers.
for him to keep his composure, get worn down during the course of the game, and be better in the second half says a lot about his veteran leadership and development.
So the Blazers will have the ball in the front court, down 7, with 2:18 to play in the third quarter. Blazers trying to snap an 11-game losing streak to Oklahoma City. Simons gets it into Reith. Holmgren defends him out on the deep wing. Hands it back to Simons with 9 to shoot. A way downtown 3 is good. Anthony Simons brings it back, this time to 4. 88-84. He's got 17.
Welcome back into the fifth quarter. Chris Burkhardt here up in the Pines.
But I did not shoot the deputy. Don't you like the way he says that?
No, but you're gunning for my back. Maybe that's why my back hurts. That's what my wife would text me.
You've been carrying me, man. You've been carrying me.
I've been carrying everything. Hey, what is the scoot, Chad? He didn't play tonight, but we did hear from Coach Billups in the press conference there that it sounds like he may get back on the court this weekend. You got a games coming up against Houston and Toronto on Friday, Saturday, so it'd be nice to see him get back on the court.
Yeah, I do expect him back after what Billups said. I thought he was going to play tonight. I saw him out there warming up before the game. He looked like he was moving around pretty well, so I would say he's definitely going to be back on the floor for the Blazers, if not on Friday, then on Saturday, which is good news because, you know, you've got, 21 games remaining in the regular season now. They need him to play and play as much as possible.
Yeah.
It's critical.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be huge for his development in the long run.
They need that draft pick to cash, man.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you need those last few games, too, get in a flow. I mean, look at, like, Dame when he got hurt, right? Hurt, air quotes, in early February before they went tank mode, and then you almost go. It feels like almost an entire calendar year without getting back on the floor. So, yeah, you need him to get out there. That's huge. I would like everybody out there. You see the fight from this team the last few nights. Like, gosh, if only they were healthy. Because you look at the injured list tonight, Chad, and you're like, okay, Scoot, Malcolm, Shea, Tamani, D.A., that's a starting 5 that would have battled tonight's starting 5.
Yeah, it's like everyone wants to, crack on the Blazers, but the reality is, what have they got now on the season? 17 victories. They're 17-44. I would like to have seen this team healthy with Robert Williams and the entire crew.
Right. Forget about him, too.
Like 4 weeks?
Yeah.
We didn't even get that.
Yeah.
Like right out of the gate, Ant was out with the surgery. And that just started the tailspin of injuries. And so, I feel for the players, the coaches, everyone involved in this mess because it's hard to really develop and kind of build anything and lay a foundation when guys are in and out of the lineup. And my guess is Chauncey Billups, he's tired of hearing from the medical staff.
Right.
I don't want to know what you got for me today. I'm out of here. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to join in the conversation, 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. I almost forgot that because it's been so long since I've been over here. And then you get in the grooves where you start doing things like you're almost like, okay, the fifth quarter, it will return on the Blazers radio network. Like you get so used because you and I have been both filling in. It gets crazy. I almost dropped a Blazers Outsiders today, even though I haven't hosted that show in years. So,
you're out of control.
Yeah. Do you ever accidentally drop like your San Francisco call number?
It has happened before early on, and then finally you just rid yourself of it. But, yeah, like after a while, it's like I've worked for so many radio stations where it's like K-Band 1550, 95.7 the game, 750 the game, 95.5 the game, 1080 the fan, 620 Rip City Radio. It's like it's all stuck in your head, man.
It does. It all gets stuck in your head. Now let's go out to the phone lines. I'll get to everyone there. Got a few callers waiting, but let's head to Victor in Turkey, who's been waiting patiently. Victor. Welcome into the fifth quarter.
Victor.
Hi, Chris.
Hey.
Thanks for your time, man. Well, there were several. There's one more. I mean, there's more than one question that you don't have time. I'm sure you don't have enough time because you're going to close it pretty soon, and more than once because what I'm saying is, if the Blazers, they end up losing a lot of games and like with the same coach 3 years in a row. Now, always there is a counter conversation or counter argument that, okay, the first 2 years was a tanking, that wasn't the coach's fault. The third year they had the injuries and that wasn't the coach's fault, and so on and so forth. But if you compare it with the other team that they fired their coach, maybe they have their own reason. Who knows? But what I'm saying is, that's one question that nobody knows. I mean, I don't know. Of course, I don't know because there are some politics always in the sport too. That's one of them. The other thing is about the Chad. What Chad was saying, that this team is about the development. Well, I mean, that's another problem because you said in the beginning that the Blazer or you like the Blazer win, but considering all the injuries and having the reserve come and play against top teams, that's a good tussle. And I appreciate that. I mean, I agree with that because I didn't expect them to win, those kind of games. But what I'm saying is, if the Chad Silver, they're going to develop, the Henderson or this guy, that guy, so that means even they're going to develop them. Henderson is in the first year. Anthony Simon is 4 years, and we see, he developed to that kind of thing. But are we going to wait another 4 years or 2 years or 3 years for Henderson to grow up? Because
I don't know. They're not going to wait 4 years. It's good. No, there he is.
Well, what I'm saying,
Victor.
3 years, the Blazers on the bottom of the stack, and the next year. Even the next year, they're going to come with the Henderson, Henderson is not going to be like Anthony Simon. It's going to take him maybe 2 years. Who knows? But what I'm saying is a lot of questions like that how many years? One time Chad said, well, it takes a patient. Well, I am patient, Believe me, I'm not even, I can go and watch a Turkish game, huh? But what I'm saying is, I don't know about the other, audience. If the next year, the Blazers end up in the 20 wins and 50 losses, I mean, can you project that what's going to be next year? I mean, I'm okay with this year. But what I'm saying is, I don't think even that what's going to happen next year. Chad said, well, they have a lot of options. They can trade that guy, this guy, that's one problem. There are more than one question to be answered, And that's one issue that the next year they have to deal with it, We cannot say, well, we go 1 day at a time. Well, the 1 day at a time works for the ordinary people, not for the NBA. You cannot work one at a time. You have to do like 1 year at a time or something like that instead of 1 day at a time. They have to do a lot of improvement, not only the young players, but having some, veteran players that they can be in upper echelon, like Aiden. I don't think Aiden makes a big difference. I don't know, but I haven't seen that make a big difference in this squad. Maybe next year.
Right. Well, here's the deal, Victor. First off, thanks for the call, as always. You ever see the movie Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Chad?
No.
No?
I haven't seen it.
Oh, my goodness. You need to see that movie. Now, there's a point in that movie where Jay, the Jay of the Jay and Silent Bob, he's talking to Tracy Morgan's character. Okay? I'm not ruining anything for you. This movie came out in like 2000. Okay? And Jay starts rambling, and Tracy Morgan's character looks at him and he says, I don't know what the expletive you just said, little man, but you reached out and you touched my heart. And that's how I feel with Victor. Like, I don't know what you just said, Vic. I think you just talked in circles. But this whole he said at the end there, well, I don't think DA could make a difference. DA makes a huge difference on this team. What are you talking about?
DA would make a huge difference on a lot of teams. So, let's I'll ask you, what year of the rebuild do you think they're in right now? Is this year 1 or is this year 3 or year 2? How do you look at it? Do you look at the rebuild starting at the time in which they decided to go young and draft Shaden Sharp? Or do you look at the rebuild starting at the moment that they traded Dame? Or do you look at it at the moment they traded they drafted, Scoot Henderson? How do you see it?
Yeah, I think a lot of people would maybe put it at different points. For me, I think the true rebuild happened the minute they drafted Scoot. Because Shea was a guy that I think could have played with Dame. Dame liked him, right?
Yeah.
If you could have moved some pieces around, things still could have worked. I mean, you got to think when you got Shea in here, you made moves that offseason. You got Jeremy Grant. You're still latched on to Yusuf Nurkic. Things are looking good. And then you trade or you draft Scoot, and then everything is, okay, Nurk's gone, Dame's gone, this guy's gone. And that was when the real flip happened. So
this is year one. Okay. Well, if it's year one, and then when would you expect the Blazers, going back to Victor's question, when would you expect the Blazers to become competitive? Not a title contender, but to be a playoff contender in the Western Conference.
The tough part about that, Chad, is it all depends on what they do, right? Because as constructed, like you can't convince me that as constructed, which what we see with another little tweak here and there, that this team goes out there fully healthy, that they're not a competitive team. Like, are they a top 4 seed? No. Am I saying they're a team that makes playoff noise? No, but they're a competitive team, fully healthy. I think when you realistically get to the point where you're talking playoffs and this and that, that's to me is like a 3-year window type thing.
Well, don't you think I'm not trying to be – I don't want to get my – well, what about this? Let's say that you finish out this year, you go into the draft, and you're obviously going to select – you're going to use your pick to take a player in the draft. And then they're going to move Malcolm Brogdon, and they'll probably look to move other pieces potentially. But with some of the key pieces that you have, like Jeremy Grant, DeAndre Ayton, you'll have Scoot Henderson, potentially Anthony Simons. Like, they could have a competitive basketball team that's a much more aesthetically pleasing brand of basketball, and a team that's going to go out and win some games next year.
Yeah, I think they absolutely could. Absolutely, I think they could. Again, I think people get confused when you say competitive. Like, oh, what are you talking about? That team's not winning a championship. Like, yeah,
be a team that can make the playoffs next year.
Competitive teams aren't winning championships. Championship teams are winning championships, right? And not everyone's built in that mold.
Or do you see it being where they're like 4 or 5 years away?
Oh, hell no.
Sooner than that, right?
If you're 4 or 5 years out in your window, I think you're messing up on your rebuild. You know, because that point, if your real rebuild's 5 years out, to me, you're running a really, really dangerous game of having to flip it and restart again. You want these things to click, and you want them to get going.
I think the 2 keys. There are 3 keys for me. And if this happens, if these things happen, then the Blazers are going to become a good team in the near future. DeAndre Ayton. Being satisfied and content and being engaged with the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah.
Scoot Henderson and Shaden Sharp continuing to develop and becoming bona fide starters in the NBA. If those 3 players develop the way that we hope they do and find their roles here on this team, then that's going to help matters significantly.
Yeah, I think you're right. I absolutely do. I want them to be competitive. I think we all do. If you want to join in the conversation, 503-248-0620. Michael Shacker, I have no TV or a computer screen. I can't see who's on, but I think David in Clackamas might be waiting still. So if David's waiting, Shacker, pot him up. Welcome him into the 5th quarter for us.
Hey, can you hear me all right? Is this
I can. It is.
That's great. Hey, that game was great. I was there, courtesy of Rich City Tickets. Hey, those seats are really great. Thanks, Chad. Appreciate that.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. Nice work, buddy. The basketball is great, but free basketball is even better.
Oh, it sure is. And, hey, it's always a great atmosphere. The team was competitive. I think we're on the right track. I really love some of these role players. I love Bari. I love Tease. Duop Reith is interesting, and if our young guns can stay healthy, hey, who knows? Maybe the future could be pretty bright here. So I'm getting pretty happy about that and see if we can be on the right track of things. And it'd be fun to be just a big Blazer fan again, and hopefully we can get on the right track of that.
You got it, man. That's awesome. Appreciate the phone call, David. Did you have a good time tonight then? You enjoyed it?
Yeah, it was fun. I haven't really gone out that much to Blazer games. I actually had a friend who just retired, and his company gave him 2 free tickets, so I got to go. That was the Detroit game where we were up real big, and then then we kind of blew the lead on that. But Ant went down. I think there's some exciting pieces there. I think with the draft, if they can draft right, I hear the draft is kind of weak, but if we could get like an Alex Sarr, let's see what
That's who we
Golden
want.
State pick would look like. Yes, exactly. And then the guy next year, hopefully will be better, but I forget his name. He's going to be a Dookie next year. But a lot of people talk about Cooper Flagg, I think his name is. But
Yeah.
we'll see. But if we keep rebuilding in the draft and maybe have some good trades, I think we could maybe have some possibility there. But we got to stay healthy, though. That's the main thing. So
Yeah,
I hope.
Dave, thanks. Yeah, thanks for the call, bud, and glad you got those tickets. And anyone else wants tickets, you got to listen out for what, Chad?
Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. That's
right. Get a chance to come see some Blazer games. It's always nice to get them on the free, and I'm glad Dave got a competitive game and a fun game to watch. And that's the thing, Chad, is everyone I've been talking to, the way things I was seeing on social, it's like this is swallowable, right? In a rebuild season, you knew it was going to be rough. This is swallowable. Now, the games you go play OKC and you lose by 50, that's a rough watch. That's the one that sucks.
No, tonight was, really, the Blazers played a really good basketball game tonight. We saw them, crank up the defensive intensity and force a lot of turnovers. I think 9 in that fourth quarter, which allowed them to get back in the game on that 9-0 run when they cut the lead to 2. They shot the ball well tonight, 50%. I was most excited about the 27 assists. We're seeing the guys over the last 4 games. These youngsters are getting a chance to play lock-in defensively. And then on top of that, you had a lot of young guys. Chris Murray able to step up and make an impact. We saw the play of Ashton Higgins, Jabari Walker, Ryan Rupert, and Delano Banton. So you're seeing these different guys step up, and when you go out there and you compete against one of the best teams in the NBA, you can't get over the hump and get the win, but I think you're right. I think people can accept this because it's a great learning tool for the youngsters. It's an exciting night where you put yourself in a position to win. You just couldn't get over the hump, and that's what we've seen over the last 4 games. They got 2 wins in Memphis, played the Timberwolves tough on the road, lose by 5. And then Oklahoma City tonight, they played it close all throughout the game. They come up short, but last 2 games against the 2 best teams tied atop the West right now.
That is correct. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the post-game show. When we come back, we'll head down to the Coach's Corner, hear what Coach Billups had to say following this 128-120 loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Burkhardt here with the boss man, Chad Doing. It's the 5th quarter on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620.
everything in between that?
I think we
Welcome back into the fifth quarter. It is time for the Coach's Corner, so let's head to the podium, hear what Coach Billups had to say following this 128-120 loss to the Thunder.
Kind of everything in between that.
I think we the minutes that have been played by some of the guys that weren't in the rotation, some of the youngins, you could just see that it's time well spent. They're coming up with some big-time plays for us. We're starting to, those guys, and all of us really just starting to really know how to play with one another, how we want to play, what we're trying to do. Less mistakes are being made, and I just thought we came out and we played this team really well, man, for the second time, and no matter who plays, we play the right way. We're just gonna play right, and that's what I want to happen. Just play right, play together, and we just rely on each other the whole time. But I'm very happy with where we are and what the progress that we've made.
Is part of that progress tonight specifically? It looked like Ant being face guarded 40 feet out. You were okay with them playing 4-on-4 underneath. Does that kind of come from trusting the other guys a little bit more than you were maybe earlier in the season?
It is, and we talk about that. Teams play Ant that way, and I'm saying, okay, that's fine. And there's some plays that I'm going to make sure Ant is in the action, and there's some plays where I'm saying, let's play 4-on-4. They should not be able to stop us, if we play 4-on-4. And the guys are just gaining more confidence when that happens, and they're not just trying to wait and look and wait for Ant. Now it's 2-3 seconds on the shot clock, throw it up, which is where we were a couple months ago. They're taking that personal, and they're taking pride in. They're saying, "How dare they do that? Let's go make a play." And who knows who's going to make that play, but let's just do it together. And I've been happy with that part for sure.
There was a moment about midway through the fourth quarter when Chris got a stop on SGA, and you came over to him as you guys went into the huddle. What did you appreciate about that? It was like the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter as he took a timeout.
Yeah, Chris is really showing how versatile of a defender that he is, and I'm challenging him every night, whether it's chasing Duncan Robinson, or Luke Kennard, or putting him on Ant Edwards, or tonight Shea. I'm really pushing the limits on trying to see how many different type of players he can guard, and he's doing amazing. He really is. He's doing amazing, and I just wanted to give him some love in that moment, and kind of let him understand and know how big of a moment that was, not just for him but for the team, for the staff, and I was just proud of him. I was happy for him,
What I saw a few times tonight that I find interesting, I like Chris Murray. I liked him out of the draft. I think there's potential there, still very raw. But Rupert is the player that kind of stands out to me. Again, also very raw. Obviously, I think he just has to build up his confidence a little bit. But you saw a situation there, Chad, kind of late in the second half there. Like Ashton Hagens, right? He gets the ball at the three-point line, hesitates to shoot because he looks for Ant, hands it off, then cuts to the rim. Ant finds him. He could have went up for the layup, doesn't. Doesn't want to shoot, passes the ball, turnover. Rupert, you give him the ball. There's no fear. He's letting it fly, and I think that will play good in the long run as he starts to build that confidence up. I like him as a player.
I think Coach Billups has done a good job. I think it was Ashton Hagens who talked about this after the game on Friday. He is encouraging the young guys who are getting a chance to play to go out there and play their game. And when you do that and you kind of turn those guys loose, then when they step on the floor, they have the confidence, if they get to their spots, to put up the shots. We're seeing that from Chris Murray. We're seeing that from Rupert. We're seeing it from Hagens, from Ben, from everyone else. And I think that's coaching, encouraging you guys to be aggressive and freeing them up to do what they do, and I like to see it. But Rupert, with his length and his freaky long arms and his athleticism, you do wonder what he could transform into.
I don't know if it's a lazy comparison or not, just because he said he likes him, but he does look an awful lot like Nick Batum with the way he plays. And if that's what he wants to be, I will take that. All right, we're going to take a quick break here on the fifth quarter. When we return, we're going to hit you with a scoreboard report, and then Chad and I are going to put a little bow on this one. Get out of here. We got sleeping to do, and I got more high school basketball to cover tomorrow because you know what? There's no DMPs for Burkhart. Not at all. The fifth quarter rolls on your home of the Blazers. Welcome back into the fifth quarter. Chris Burgart, Chad Doing, and my bad back up here in the 300 level next to the Pines across from entry C31. It is time now for a scoreboard report in the nation's capital. The Orlando Magic grabbed the 119-109 victory over the Wizards. Paulo Banchero, 25 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists. Kyle Kuzma led the Wizards with 25. In Atlanta, the Hawks grabbed the upset over the Cavaliers, 112-101. Jarrett Allen, 18 points, 19 rebounds. Bogdanovich led the Hawks with 23 points. In Philadelphia, the Grizzlies upset the 76ers, 115-109. Jaren Jackson led the Grizzlies with 30, 11, and 6. In Houston, the Clippers 122, the Rockets 116. Kawhi Leonard 28 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. In Utah, Chicago wins a tight one, 119-117. DeMar DeRozan 29 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists for the Bulls. John Collins 25 and 13 rebounds for Utah. Down in the Bay, the Warriors put a whooping on the Bucks, 125-90. Steph Curry, 29 points, 8 rebounds. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 23 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists. In Los Angeles, as Chad would say, the Kings 130, the Lakers 120. De'Aaron Fox, 44 points to lead the Kings. LeBron James, 31 points and 13 assists. And right here in Moda Center, Oklahoma City 128, Portland 120. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander leading the way with 37. Anthony Simons did have 29 for the Blazers. Pretty quiet first half, but boy, howdy, Chad, he got hot in that second. And when he gets on a heater, he's as fun as anybody to watch.
No question about it. Who else got on a heater tonight? Anthony Simons in the second half tonight was pretty nice, too.
Yeah, that's why I say it. That's why I just.
Is that what you just said?
That's what I was talking about.
I was too busy. Was that White Lion, Shacker? Is that White Lion?
I don't know. Maybe before my time.
I think it might be White Lion he was playing there.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Good
I was
job.
like, I think I've heard that before. White Lion from way back in the day.
Shacker does that to me every once in a while. I lose my train of thought coming into an intro because he plays a song I really like, and then I just want to jam out. So.
But going back to Ant for a second, like in the first half, I was like, what's wrong with the guy?
Yeah, he's pretty quiet. And Coach talked about it in the post game. And it was like he was staying at half court a little bit with Shai and kind of watching him and not getting too involved in the offense. But then when he jumped in, man, that second half, he went bonkers and he got hot. So got pretty crazy.
You know what I just did to you? How often does your wife get mad at you because she says something and you're not listening and you repeat exactly what she just said?
Hey, we're live. We're live.
You know what Anthony Simons is? That's what I just said. What, you're not listening to me, dumbass?
We're live. We're live.
That's what I just did to you. We're like a married couple. I'm just ignoring you.
No, see, it's the other way around. My dear, hardworking wife, I'm the one. She'll say something to me, and I'll just be like, uh-huh. And she's like, did you hear what I just said? I'm like, yeah. She's like, then what'd I say? I'm sorry. I love you. Yeah. Uh-huh. Thanks for paying attention. Go back to your Twitter.
Yeah.
Do whatever you're doing. But, all right, I think that's going to do it for us here up in level 300. We've got to get out of here for the.
When the guy brings out the Zamboni cleaning machine, that's the cue.
Zamboni shows up.
Get your asses out of here.
It's time to go home. Hey, we got a fun week. We got to make sure our listeners know, Chad, so when they hear some different voices, they're not confused. Because there's a lot going on with the OSAA state championship, so I'm pretty busy. Curtis Long also does the PA for us at the OSAA, so he's pretty busy. So you are going to be filling in on the Blazers pre- and post-game show. And remember, the Blazers do have a couple games coming up. First off, against the Rockets on Friday. Tip-off at 7, game day starting at 4:30 with Seth Hoyland, and I heard the Godfather is going to show up for that too.
That's right. I banished the Godfather to working at nights now. He's mad at me.
You know that old Snickers commercial, that great googly moogly. that's Dwight. Hey, Dwight, I needed to come in and do the fifth quarter. Great googly moogly.